Hello and welcome. Today I am going to be discussing episode 6 of The Last of Us. So, like in previous videos, I'm going to start with an episode recap and then get into the discussion. So, with that, sit back, relax, and let's get started. After witnessing yet another heartbreaking climax in episode 5, episode 6 dares to offer us a bit of hope. Joel has been searching for his long-lost brother, the ex-Firefly Tommy, for nearly the entire season. At long last, they reunite by way of an encounter in the wilderness that seems fatal at first. A group of strangers bring Joel and Ellie to Jackson, Wyoming, a paradise amidst a cordyceps ravaged planet. That's where Tommy has found refuge and, as we find out, peace. It's a glimpse of what life could be for Joel and Ellie, but of course it turns out to be only a glimpse. In this episode, we get a good look at Jackson, which, without getting too deep, will become the closest thing this story ever gets to a main setting. Jackson has shops, a big dining hall, children running around, and people actually seem happy. It's bewildering to Joel and Ellie, especially the latter, who grew up in the militaristic Boston QZ. We don't learn a ton about the inner workings of Jackson, but again, it's an absolute treat to see and feel the energy of the town so early. When Joel and Tommy reunite, Joel had assumed that his brother got himself mixed up in some firefly antics, but he's actually thriving. He's seemingly an important part in the daily upkeep of Jackson and has a reliable partner in Maria. They're even expecting a child together. Joel and Tommy's initial reunion is all fun and cuddles. They embrace, catch up while Ellie destroys a plate of food. But since this is The Last of Us, trouble soon returns. At this point in the series, Joel truly cares about Ellie. Plus, he's an older, practical guy. Tommy is not. In the home stretch of delivering Ellie to a team of doctors working on a vaccine, Joel makes a rational conclusion. Tommy is the best person to keep Ellie safe the rest of the way. Joel grabs a drink with Tommy to make his ask. In a brilliantly performed scene, Joel doesn't get the answer he's looking for. Ellie resents Joel for making the call to stay behind until he has a change of heart anyway. Near the end of the episode, Tommy changes his mind too, saddling up with Ellie. Joel arrives, takes the reins, and things don't go too well. Ellie and Joel hit the road again. They stumble on what they think might be their final destination, only to find that this particular hospital has been abandoned. On their way out of the area, they run into yet another unsavory crew, which means that Joel has to go into killer mode. He breaks someone's neck while all of his friends run away. Joel suffers a major stab wound in the fight. While the adversaries wander off, we see that Joel isn't looking so good. He collapses in the snow. Ellie, understandably, freaks out, not knowing what to do with this grown man who may very well be dying. In true The Last of Us fashion, it's a brutal end to to this chapter, which showed us a future for Joel and Ellie. One where they could live in Jackson, enjoying relative peace. But no. Ellie suddenly has to figure something out. The bear cub dynamic we've seen so far, flipping in an instant. So that was the recap, and now I'm going to get into the episode discussion. I'm so glad they left in the push from everyone except for you. That gets me every time. I hope the non-game watchers get as much out of that scene as the game watchers. Jackson looks just as cozy as the games. I can't remember. All I know is I wake up and I've lost something. I'm failing in my sleep. That's all I do. Such a powerful monologue that I think actually does a little better than the game in illustrating why Tommy would be willing to do this favor for Joel and why Joel would ask in the first place. In the game, Joel is a Terminator, so it's kind of odd that he doubt his ability to keep Ellie safe. In the show, we see that he's old and past his prime, and he knows it. In the game, he just tells Tommy he needs him to do this, and Tommy agrees after seeing Joel and Ellie interact for 5 seconds. In the show, he only gives in after watching his brother basically break down in front of him. Phenomenal episode. The Tommy and Joel dynamic broke my heart. Traveling halfway across the country only for your brother to not be fully committed to your cause. Then Joel seeing a look-alike daughter, knowing damn well that she'd be a mom by now with her own kids. I liked the map showing the Fireflies hold in Seattle. So many good references in this episode. When I wake up, I lost something. This is the most vulnerable I've seen Joel. I'm glad he opened up to Tommy. Joel's panic attacks really show how much anxiety this trip is causing him and how afraid he is to lose Ellie like he did with Sarah. So glad there was a decent amount of time spent in Jackson. There were a ton of details ripped right from the games. Week after week, Pedro and Bella nail their roles' performances. The humor and emotion were on point. Ellie pressing her cheek against Joel's back. Tommy having a small little memorial for Sarah. Knowing that the line, "I have dreams," what dreams, I don't know. All I know is that when I wake up, I know I've lost something, was improvised by Pedro himself, broke me. He's such a phenomenal actor. And if you're familiar with his past, it just makes that line hit harder. I really enjoyed the subtle callback to episode 1 with the dog sniffing out the infection. I was a bit nervous about the pacing of this episode and worried they wouldn't fit everything in, but they did, and more. What I love about this show so far is that it doesn't feel like you need to play the games before watching. Instead, it feels like the show itself enhances your enjoyment of the games and vice versa. Another really great episode. A few thoughts while they're fresh in my mind. Interesting line from Joel here. Marlene, she's a lot of things, but she's no fool. If she says they can do it, they can do it. A sort of admission that he believes that the vaccine would work makes his upcoming actions at the hospital more impactful. The allusion to Joel having what seems like panic attacks is really interesting. A physical manifestation of him starting to feel again now that Ellie has crept her way into his life. He finally has something to worry about. It's really nice to see a more vulnerable side of him. Pedro is fantastic at it. It places a different spin on Joel asking Tommy to take Ellie, but it hit hard. This show continues to impress me how well they've managed to adjust the source material for the different medium and how well they can adapt such large swaths of the game. They managed to do the entire fall section of the game without it feeling rushed at all, and I commend Craig and Neil on that so much. A lot of that has to do with expert level adaptation. So that is all for today. As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful night